Experience alone does not guarantee learning. You can have the same year of experience repeated 10 times, or you can have 10 years of genuine learning. The difference is reflection, the systematic practice of extracting insights from experience that inform future decisions. This lesson focuses on reflective learning practices that accelerate organizational learning from AI initiatives, both successes and failures. Organizations invest significantly in AI initiatives, but often extract minimal learning from them. They move quickly from one initiative to the next without pausing to understand what worked, what didn't, and why. As philosopher and educator John Dewey observed, we do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. This distinction is crucial for AI leadership. Without reflection, you repeat mistakes, miss opportunities to amplify successes, and fail to build institutional knowledge that improves over time. With systematic reflection, every AI initiative, whether it achieves intended outcomes or not, generates insights that improve future decisions. Organizations often confuse activity with learning. When you think activity, think deploying an AI system, achieving metrics, moving to next initiative. But for learning, think understanding why outcomes occurred, what factors mattered most, what would work better next time. Activity produces results. Learning produces capability to generate better results consistently. As management thinker Chris Argyris distinguished in his work on organizational learning, there's single-loop learning, adjusting actions to achieve existing goals, and double-loop learning, questioning the goals and assumptions themselves. Effective reflection enables both. Now, the first challenge is that reflection requires time that feels expensive when you're moving fast. But as the old saying goes, there's never time to do it right, but always time to do it over. Reflection prevents having to do things over by learning from experience the first time. Schedule reflection. Build reflection into project timelines, not as optional add-on, but as essential phase. After AI deployment, schedule reflection sessions before moving to the next initiative. Protect this time even when pressure exists to move faster. Distinguish reflection from reporting. Reflection is not status updates or performance reviews. It's deeper exploration of what you're learning. Create separate space for reflective learning, distinct from accountability or performance conversations. Make it proportional. More significant initiatives warrant more extensive reflection. Quick pilots might need 30-minute debriefs. Major deployments might justify day-long reflection sessions. Effective reflection does benefit from structure. Let's talk about some frameworks you can use. AAR, the After Action Review. Developed by the U.S. Army and adapted widely in business, AARs provide simple but powerful structure. Number 1, what did we expect to happen? Document initial predictions, goals, and assumptions clearly. Number 2, what actually happened? Describe outcomes factually, including quantitative results and qualitative observations. What accounts for the difference? Analyze why outcomes differed from expectations, both positive and negative surprises. What will we do differently next time? Extract specific, actionable insights that inform future initiatives. This framework works for AI initiatives of any size and focuses attention on learning rather than blame. The 5 whys. When reflecting on outcomes, especially unexpected ones, ask why repeatedly to get beneath surface explanations. Our AI customer service implementation did not reduce response times as expected. Why? Customers often escalated to get human agents quickly. Why? The AI couldn't handle their questions effectively. Why? Questions were more complex than our training data represented? And why? Just two more. We based training data on tickets, but customers' actual questions differ from how issues get documented. Why? We didn't directly observe customer conversations when designing the system. Each why reveals deeper insight that informs better future design. The success factor analyses. For successful AI initiatives, systematic analyses of success factors prevents attributing success to wrong causes. List all factors that contributed to success: technology choices, data quality, team composition, executive support, change management, and timeline, and so on. Rate each factor's importance. Which were essential versus helpful versus irrelevant. Identify surprises. What mattered more or less than you expected? Extract principles. What general insights apply to future initiatives? This prevents "we succeeded, let's do the same thing" thinking that misses crucial details. There's the failure mode analyses. For initiatives that didn't succeed, analyze failure modes systematically. Why didn't the technology work as expected? For the technical failures. For the implementation failures, why did we struggle with deployment even though the technology worked? For the adoption failures, why didn't people use the system as intended? For value failures, why did it work but not create the expected value? Different failure modes require different adaptations. This analysis surfaces which type of failure occurred. There is the assumption validation. AI initiative. Every AI initiative rests on assumptions. Reflecting on which proved accurate and which didn't accelerates learning. List the key assumptions at the project start. We assume data quality is sufficient, that employees will adopt this readily, that customers will prefer AI interaction for routine inquiries, and that it will reduce costs by X%. Post-initiative, review each assumption. Which of these proved accurate, wrong? Which couldn't we validate? What do we now believe instead? This builds better assumption making over time. So let's talk about specific reflective questions people might use for AI initiatives, as there are certain questions that do consistently surface valuable learning. Here's 4 questions related to technology and data. Number 1, did the AI technology work as expected technically? Number 2, was our data sufficient in quality and quantity? Number 3, what data limitations did we discover? And lastly, what technical capabilities would have helped that we lacked? 4 questions about people and adoption. How did employees or customers respond differently than expected? What drove adoption or resistance? What change management approaches worked well or poorly? Who became champions? And what motivated them? About process and implementation. The questions: what implementation challenges emerged? What took longer or shorter than expected and why? Where did processes break down? What dependencies did we miss? For value and impact, did we achieve intended business outcomes? What unexpected benefits or costs emerged? How did costs compare to estimates? Was the value proposition accurate? And finally, about context and assumptions. What assumptions proved wrong? What contextual factors did we underestimate? What did we learn about our organization's capabilities? And what would we need to know to do this better? So now, once again, we mention psychological safety for honest reflection in this case. Reflection only works if people feel safe being honest about what didn't work. As Google's extensive research on team effectiveness, Project Aristotle found, psychological safety, where team members feel safe taking risks and being vulnerable, is the most important factor in high-performing teams. Separate learning from accountability. Make clear that reflection sessions focus on learning, not evaluating individual performance. People involved in initiatives must feel safe acknowledging challenges and mistakes without fearing punishment. Set the vulnerability model. As a leader, share your own misjudgments and learning openly. I assumed customer adoption would be faster. I misjudged how much training they'd need. This models that admitting mistakes is safe and valued. And be sure to thank people for honesty. When someone shares difficult truths, this didn't work as we'd hoped, because thank them explicitly. What gets rewarded gets repeated. Reward honest reflection. Focus on systems, not just people. When things go wrong, ask, what about our systems and processes contributed to this? Not just who made the mistake. This surfaces systemic improvements rather than just individual accountability. Use blameless postmortems. When significant failures occur, conduct blameless postmortems focused entirely on understanding what happened and how to improve systems, not on assigning blame. Engineering organizations pioneered this approach after recognizing that blame prevented honest learning about failures. Documenting and sharing insights. Reflection generates value when insights get captured and shared, not just discussed and forgotten. Create lessons learned repositories. Maintain accessible documentation of insights from AI initiatives. This might be shared database, wiki, or regular summary reports. Format matters less than accessibility. Write case studies. For significant initiatives, write brief case studies. What we tried, what happened, what we learned. These case studies serve as learning resources for future teams facing similar decisions. Hold learning sessions. Periodically gather teams to share learnings from different AI initiatives. Cross-pollination of insights accelerates organizational learning beyond individual project teams. Integrate into planning. When planning new AI initiatives, explicitly reference lessons from previous initiatives. Based on our customer service AI implementation, we learned that change management needs to start earlier. How will we apply that here? Celebrate learning. Recognize teams that conduct thorough reflection and generate valuable insights, not just teams that achieve targets. If only success gets celebrated, learning from difficulties becomes stigmatized. Organizations typically learn more from failures than from successes, but both offer valuable lessons. So for learning from success, successful initiatives create risk of false lessons if you don't reflect carefully. It worked because we had strong executive support, might be true, or executive support might have been present but not causal. It worked because we used vendor X, might be true. Or vendor choice might have been less important than data quality or change management. Rigorous reflection on success surfaces what actually drove positive outcomes versus what was coincidental. As author and researcher Jim Collins notes in Good to Great, truly exceptional organizations maintain the discipline to confront the brutal facts, even when succeeding, ensuring they understand what's working rather than assuming, and learning from failure. Failures often provide richer learning because they force deeper examination, but failure only teaches if you reflect systematically rather than just moving on quickly. The question is not how do we avoid ever falling again, but what specific insights from this failure improve our next attempt? Thomas Edison famously reflected on failures productively, saying, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This mindset extracts learning even from unsuccessful attempts. Reflective practices for leaders. Beyond project-level reflection, develop personal reflective practices. Weekly reviews. Set aside time weekly to reflect. What did I learn this week about AI in our organization? What surprised me? Think about what assumptions you should reconsider, and what decisions should you revisit based on new information. Decision journals. Document significant decisions about AI initiatives, what you decided, what factors you considered, what you expected to happen. Later, review these journals to compare expectations with reality and improve future decision-making. Investor and author Annie Duke advocates this practice in Thinking in Bets, noting that tracking decisions and outcomes reveals patterns in your decision-making that you can improve. Peer reflection. Regularly discuss AI initiatives and learnings with peer leaders. Their questions and perspectives surface insights you might miss in solo reflection. Annual strategic reflection. Annually, conduct deeper reflection on your AI strategy. What's working better than expected? Worse? than expected? Think about what strategic assumptions need revision. Consider what capabilities your organization has built and what should be stopped, started, and what should continue. There are common reflection mistakes. Several patterns undermine reflected learning. There's confirmation bias, seeking evidence that confirms initial beliefs rather than genuinely examining what happened. We succeeded, which proves our approach was right. Ignores factors that might have driven success despite approach limitations. Combat this by explicitly asking, what evidence would suggest our interpretation is wrong? Recency bias, overweighting recent events while discounting earlier experiences. Make sure reflection considers full arc of initiatives, not just final outcomes. Hindsight bias, after knowing outcomes, believing they were predictable all along. This creates false confidence that you knew better than you did. Review initial predictions explicitly to counter this. Surface level reflection, stopping at surface explanations without deeper analyses. It failed because of budget constraints. Might be true, or budget might have been a symptom of deeper issues like unclear value proposition or misaligned stakeholders. Reflection without action. Generating insights, but not translating them into changed practices. Reflection creates value only when learning influences future decisions and actions. Begin building reflection into your organizational culture. Individual reflection helps, but organizational learning requires cultural change. Make reflection expected. Build reflection into standard project methodology. Every AI initiative includes a scheduled reflection phase. Provide training. Help teams develop skills for effective reflection. Facilitation, analysis, and documentation. Allocate resources. Budget time and resources for reflection activities. What doesn't get resourced doesn't get prioritized. Lead by example. When leaders visibly engage in reflection and act on insights, others recognize it's valued. Create structures. Establish communities of practice, regular learning sessions, and knowledge-sharing platforms that make reflection structural rather than individual initiative. Measuring learning. How do you know if reflective practices are working? Track insights generated. Count documented insights and lessons learned from AI initiatives. Monitor application. Track how often teams reference previous learnings when planning new initiatives. Assess improvement. Compare outcomes across similar AI initiatives over time. Are you getting better at implementation, adoption, and value creation? Survey teams. Ask teams whether they feel they're learning from experience and whether reflective practices add value. If they do not, follow up to find out why and perhaps what help they need to be able to focus more on reflection in a more effective way. Evaluate knowledge retention. Test whether insights from one team's experience inform other teams' decisions. Reflective learning practices transform experience into expertise. Every AI initiative, successful or not, generates insights that improve future decisions if you extract them systematically. As philosopher and scientist Karl Popper observed, true ignorance is not the absence of knowledge, but the refusal to acquire it. Reflection is how you acquire knowledge from experience, rather than letting it pass unused. The frameworks and practices in this lesson give you concrete approaches for building reflective learning into how you and your organization operate. In the next lesson, we'll explore staying confident through uncertainty, the mental practices and frameworks that maintain your confidence and clarity as a leader, even when facing ambiguous and rapidly changing situations. We'll discuss how you can maintain confidence and effectiveness through the uncertainty that AI evolution creates